Good morning, David Kern here at the CBS AM Debrief for this Tuesday, the 13th of July. Pretty bad night on the markets last night, particularly in Europe, when the concerns about a surging Italian yield on the benchmark there saw that get really sold off very aggressively, and the United States followed through. The Greece issue, of course, is still in the background there, concerning everyone that there's another default down the track there, and that really put the frighteners on everything pretty much. So let's have a look at exactly what happened. Starting with some of those big moves in Greece, there we have the FTSE Milan down 3.96%. So that's a huge move. By anyone's standards. Madrid down 2.69, DAX down 2.33, so a really big move there in Germany, which of course has a lot of exposure to some of its banks have a lot of exposure to some of those areas. France 2.97, 91 rather, and the FTSE more subdued 1.03. They have less exposure to some of those economies or some of those markets apparently. So what happened in Europe? The Dow followed through with 151.4, or down 1.2. The broader S&P 500 nearly 2%, and Nasdaq was 2%, and then the rest of the Americas down to pardon me, varying extents. The futures for our market, or rather yesterday's close, saw us get sold off pretty aggressively here. Now that wasn't just on the back of that United States jobs data from Friday night. There's also some selling there on the back of concerns about the carbon tax. Hang Seng rather 379 down, and the Nikkei 68. So in terms of what the futures are suggesting here, we've got a bit more downside here according to the SPY, down 39. Hang Seng down 439, and the Nikkei down 130. So we'll see what happens there. Not really prepared to take much of a view one way or the other there on what might happen. Okay, so commodities. So we'll move over to the commodities page here. Pretty much all of the energy sector got sold off, although we're seeing some movement back up coming into West Texas here. Natural gas sliding around this 420, 430 level, really not going anywhere at all. So hopefully we won't be losing too much time value in the natural gas warrant that we have on issue at the moment. In terms of our softs, pretty much down across the board, apart from soy up ever so slightly. But yeah, that was the exception there. Cotton looks like it was down most of all, 4.39, and wheat down 2.2. The big movers to the downside there. Interestingly, given that copper is normally associated with the growth of the global economy, it moved up 1.45, or a third of a percent. And then, of course, I would expect the safe haven status of gold and silver to get pushed up here. Indeed, it has been nearly 0.5% for silver. That's proving to be quite a good trade for people clients that got into that a week or two back when we first spoke about it. Gold, that must be getting up, or very near to the all-time high there. I'll have to check that a little bit later. Moving on to the currencies now, the euro is buying 1.4055, pound buying 1.5914. The US dollar buying 80.3205 yen, and the Aussie buying just 1.0660 US dollars, and the US dollar buying just 0.9686 CAD and 0.8358 Swiss francs. Now to the economic calendar for today. Our Japanese central bank rates decision, that's not expected to go anywhere at all and stay at 0.1. Then we've got some Canadian data and and then moving into our NAB business confidence numbers out at 10:30, and then German CPI numbers for June. Later on tonight, out of the UK Consumer Price Index year on year and core CPI. We'll get some retail sales numbers out, and that sees us through to the conclusion of the day. Going into early tomorrow morning, we've got the US Fed's minutes being released and the European stress test summary released. Now, that could exacerbate the problem, or the concerns about Europe, or it could to some extent allay those fears, depending on how those numbers start to come up. And then, of course, we've got going into Chinese GDP numbers, which again will, a disappointing number there, would weigh heavily on our market, I would have thought, pardon me, particularly our resources sector. Better than expected number should be reasonably supportive. Okay, just move on now and take a quick look at the vector vest, what that's saying. Okay, so they're making similar comments there about carbon tax being a concern. Should be cautious and only purchase on up days, so it looks like we're not going to get one of those today. But if you were wanting to weigh in the current picks that the system likes the most for value, safety and timing, Aluka, Index, Mineral Resources, Medusa's coming up, working its way back up the list, however it is still rated as a whole. Fortescue, Lend-Lease, Flight Centre, Silver Lake Resources, and so on. I won't read through that entirely. Now to Falcon Trader. This is a stock that I was looking at, I believe, the other day, which is ResMed. And it looks like we've got a fairly solid sort of descending wedge sort of pattern here, and hopefully we find support along this baseline here at 283, and we get a bounce and a reversal. But might be a little bit premature to jump into that just here, perhaps. But I guess we'll just have to see on that one. Okay, there's our gold, and we're still going to get up to around 1574 according to this. Another $20 away before we'll take out that old high there. And we've possibly got a little bit of resistance here, and this sort of triple top looking pattern there. Another one we've been looking at, Caltex, seems to be declining here, so perhaps I wouldn't bother looking to re-enter that at the moment. GPT is another one I've talked about. That's actually not looking all that good either, because it's starting to look like it's breaking below this inner upward trend line, which is a bit of a concern. Probably we want to include the wick on the bottom of that particular candle there. This is where it always gets a little bit subjective. Or you could say it hasn't actually broken through that inner upward trend line, but that does concern me a little bit on that particular trade. Just to finish off here, Medusa, I think I mentioned yesterday, seems to be, well, has regained the $7 handle here, and whether we'll see it start to reach up towards $8 here anytime soon. probably not today would be my guess. So I think we're in for a bit of an interesting one. Fasten your seatbelts, hold on to your hats, and perhaps should be looking at being a bit more in cash here, and certainly wouldn't be venturing into the long side at the moment until this European thing once again hopefully sorts itself out. Let's leave it at that. Thanks as always for your attention. Until next time, bye for now.